Good afternoon, students. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to introduce this week's reading. This week, we'll be reading chapters 11 through 18 of Street Life, or pretty much the rest of the book. And this part begins with the death of his close friend Smiley, who we saw earlier, as a guy who was not unlike the other gangsters and seems to be differently abled and had a hard time getting by. His mom didn't like him and kind of had it worse than Victor. And Victor's life, his destructive and thrilling life, kind of intersects on this climactic day in this chapter with him. We're going to read the end of the book, which ends with Dr. Rios getting married, having kids, and becoming the scholar that he is today. In the next assignment, you'll choose a chapter to analyze closely, chapter from the end of the book, chapters 11 through 18. From this week's reading, I wanted to highlight one paragraph that I might look at from chapter 12, Mistrust. And I'll read it right now and analyze it a little bit. One day, I returned to school after a long hiatus and looked for Miss Russ. By the time I had dropped at least one semester in the 8th grade, one in the 9th grade, and now one in the 10th grade. In the 8th grade, I had gone to work, but in the 9th and 10th grades, I was on the streets of Oakland, hanging out, selling drugs, and stealing and robbing. I thought that I could never make it through school, that I was too stupid, and that the streets were a place where I did not know how to survive and make money. And the streets were a place where I did know how to survive and make money. I felt that even though I risked being murdered, going to jail, or ending up a drug addict like many of the people I knew, the streets had more to offer me than school did. So one of the sentences in here is I found to be really, really powerful. By this time, and I'll read it again, by this time, I had dropped at least one semester in the 8th grade, one semester in the 9th grade, and now one in the 10th, which is, Rio says on page 73. It's powerful because it describes years of his life in a single breath. Dr. Rios really believed that he would die before turning 18. At the end of the paragraph, he also includes his perspective or how he felt about his experiences. When you write about your childhood, teenage years, and adult life, be sure to include your perspective, like so. He says, I felt that even though I risked being murdered, going to jail, or ending up a drug addict like so many people I knew, the streets had more to offer me than school did. Here, Dr. Rios shares his perspective about why he sought belonging and empowerment by joining a gang, fighting, and living a fast life. When we will finish reading the book this week, it ends with some happier moments that come years later when he is no longer a teenager. Transforming pain, that's part of what it means to grow up. And Street Life does an amazing job illustrating this in such clear and direct writing. I hope you enjoy the rest of this book. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions.